Hey guys, thanks for listening to The Obsessive Viewer. I'm just breaking in here before we get started with this episode to tell you about a great opportunity that makes me sound like I'm trying to sell you something. No, there is a crowdfunding thing going on for a young kid who wants to go to Star Wars Celebration. Eli's 14 years old. He was born with a brain tumor and had the tumor removed last year. And while that was happening, he's been through a lot of radiation and is still seeing doctors. And the worst part is that it's messing with his memories, and many of the memories of his favorite things, like Star Wars, Doctor Who, those are just going away. So the donation page for it is to get him to go to Star Wars Celebration, because it's not that cheap. It's a really worthwhile cause. I'll put the links in the show notes and everything. But the goal is to raise $8,000. They're currently at, as of this recording, at $2,485. So, if you have the means, it's tax time. You've already made your donation to the Obsessive Viewer, so go ahead and donate to this. That's terrible. No, go ahead and check it out. I'll put a link in the show notes and everything, and it's also shared on the Obsessive Viewer Facebook page. So go check that out, and thank you. This is Matt Hurt at Obsessive Viewer on Twitter.
This is Tiny at Obsessive Tiny on Twitter.
And this is ObsessiveViewer.com's The Obsessive Viewer Podcast. Hello and welcome to The Obsessive Viewer. We're a weekly movie and TV podcast that covers a specific topic, be it genre, trope, movie, or show, each episode. You can find back episodes at ovpodcast.com, find the blog at obsessiveviewer.com, and you can also like us on Facebook and join the Facebook group at facebook.com/theobsessiveviewer. And before we get into this week's episode, which is a potpourri, an extended potpourri episode, I just want to mention that our sponsor again this week is Horror Movie Yearbook, which you can find at HM Yearbook on Twitter and at horrormovieyearbook.com. It's part of the Midwest Podcast Network. And they are just about to release an episode about the class of 1998, which is their podcast basically takes a year and examines a few different horror movies from that year and contextualizes them into the current events of that year. So I am actually really excited because they posted a tweet asking what everyone's favorite 1998 horror movie is. And there are a ton that are like really good. Like that was like when I got into the horror genre, Tiny.
Right.
Let's see. I'm trying to find which ones I saw. The Faculty, Halloween H2O, and Urban Legend.
I was gonna say Urban Legend.
Yeah. So
I Know What You Did Last Summer. Was that 98?
I still Know What You Did Last Summer.
That was still, oh boy.
Yeah. So I'm really looking forward.
How could I not remember that?
Right.
What the hell is wrong with me?
Exactly. So I'm really looking forward to that episode of Horror Movie Yearbook, which again you can find at HM Yearbook and at horrormovieyearbook.com. And thank you to Horror Movie Yearbook and the Midwest Podcast Network for sponsoring this episode of the Obsessive Viewer Podcast, which, Tiny, I mentioned this before, but what are we talking about today?
We are doing some extended potpourri.
We sure are. And for those first-time listeners of the show, Extended Potpourri is essentially an extension of our potpourri segment that's in each episode of the podcast. The potpourri section is the section of the podcast where we kind of wind down and talk about things that we've watched lately, just kind of a general potpourri of things that we've watched. Anything we want as long as it smells good. So we're going to kind of do an entire episode about the stuff we've watched lately, all spoiler-free. So, yeah. And let's see. Before we do that, we have a few news items, Tiny, or a couple news items and one speculation thing.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was announced yesterday, I believe, that Ben Affleck is no longer going to be directing the Batman for DC and Warner Brothers. He's still going to be writing and starring in it. He's just going to step away from the director's seat to concentrate on it being, concentrate on acting in it and everything.
It's a commanding performance.
It is. It is.
Demanding performance.
Right.
That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah. Affleck's statement said, there are certain characters who hold a special place in the hearts of millions. Performing this role demands focus, passion, and the very best performance I can give. It has become clear that I cannot do both jobs to the level they require. Together with the studio, I have decided to find a partner and a director who will collaborate with me on this massive film. I'm still in this and we are making it, but we are currently looking for a director. I remain extremely committed to this project and look forward to bringing this to life for fans around the world. So, Tiny, first of all, what did you think of that statement?
It kind of sounds like, what's the word I'm looking for here? Damage control, I would say.
I was going to say pre-damage control, but go ahead.
Yeah. It feels like, okay, Batman versus Superman was kind of successful. I mean, it made a pretty decent amount of money, but not quite as much as they wanted.
Right.
Was not critically acclaimed at all, and most people trashed it a lot. So, that the whole DC universe and partnered with Warner Brothers is like really hurting right now. With the other movies that came out that weren't very well received. So, I think, initially Ben Affleck was like, yeah, let's dive into this. This is going to be a huge thing. This is the next Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it's not.
Right.
And so he's like, F that, I'm bailing up to the, as far as he can. He'd probably just bail completely if I'm sure he's got some kind of contract somewhere that says he's supposed to be playing Batman. So from an acting perspective, he probably has to do it or something like that. I don't know. And plus it's a lot of money, I'm sure.
Right. You might say, Tiny, that he is, that he's not Keaton himself. He's bailing and he's probably going to go west. Yeah, you can just kill Murmy now.
God damn it.
Okay.
How did you do that?
I don't know. I am struggling so hard to incorporate Clooney.
He needs to get a Clooney and get out of there.
Yeah, right. Oh, damn, that would have been good.
No,
nice.
It wasn't.
Yeah. Anyway, to kind of jump off that, like, I honestly, reading the like actual language of the statement, I'm a little less cynical, believe it or not, than you are in that.
Okay.
Like I said, it kind of feels like pre-damage control. To put it another way, Tiny, if there's even a 1% chance that the fan base was going to lash out, he needed to squash that.
Yeah.
To play on the Batman v Superman-ness of it. Anyway, the reference to the dialogue. Anyway, it kind of feels that way. Like it feels like he knows, like, okay, they're not. DC's extended universe is not where they want it to be, so he's just going to make sure to reinforce, like, I'm still committed to this project, guys. Right. I'm aware I'm kind of the bright spot of whatever the hell they're doing over there. Yeah, but we posted a question in the Facebook group, which you can find at a link to it at facebook.com/theobsessiveviewer. And let's see. I'm just going to read some of the comments here. Tommy Day, creator of Buy the Rights, the movie pitching party game, which I highly recommend checking out, it is available on Amazon. And there's talk about getting him and Tony Troxel on to play like a game podcast version of the game.
Nice.
So hopefully we can work that out. Tommy said they're still making DC movies, which I got a kick out of.
Nice.
Yeah. Brandon Yoder from Synapshot Productions and Billy and Brandon Watch Movies said, I'm bummed, but ultimately okay with it. I'm glad they realized that writing, directing, starring in a movie like this would be too much now instead of halfway into filming. I think he's a great director, but if they can get someone like Matt Reeves in there, it will still work. Maybe they can interest Affleck in directing Flash. Which I like that. I like that because there was talk of Matt Reeves being attached to it. He's actually one of the front runners, I think.
Okay.
Or there's a rumor that he's like the favorite to direct it.
Yeah, it'd be cool to see him direct one of the other DC movies. I'd be all over that.
I agree, and it would be cool to see Affleck do the Flash.
Yeah.
And I liked that Brandon threw his 2 cents in there because he's always been kind of he hasn't championed the DC extended universe, but it's kind of been more like he is really pulling for it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Okay.
And then Justin said, my hopes for DC lie in Wonder Woman and resident badass Jason Momoa rocking Aquaman. And then finally, Claire said, can he not be Batman? Or better yet, can DC stop using the same damn characters over and over and make something actually new?
Yeah, we've got a lot of Batman lately.
Yeah. Yeah. And like my response to that was, honestly, at this point, I would be more than fine with them rebooting their universe and starting fresh.
Yeah.
Because it is kind of a dumpster fire right now. All right. And that is the commentaries on that and everything. So yeah, the next piece of news I have is Peter Capaldi is leaving Doctor Who at the end of this year.
He is.
Yep. And I haven't watched since Matt Smith left.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you watched any Capaldi? I know you saw the first episode, didn't you?
I saw the first episode and really wasn't into it. Mm-hmm. And at the time, I could not get BBC in HD.
Oh.
And so I was like, you know what? just didn't look good. And I was like, I'm just going to have to wait. I'm used to waiting for Doctor Who anyway. So I'm just going to wait till it comes on Netflix.
Sure.
And now it's not on Netflix anymore. So I haven't seen any of the Capaldi stuff. Yeah.
I see. I am crazy, and I just want to go back and watch all of it, like from Eccleston to Smith and then Capaldi, because I'm insane. It is all available on Amazon Prime, so
yeah, I'm gonna have to switch over to that and catch up on it.
Definitely.
Yeah. I guess Capaldi just needed to regenerate his career. You get it?
I do get it.
You get it.
Yeah.
You got it. He was the doctor he'll have been the doctor for 4 years.
That sounds about right.
Doesn't feel like it.
Because
his last episode will be the Christmas special.
Right.
And that'll be like a full 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't feel. And I think he'll have not even 30 episodes as the doctor.
That sounds about right. And I want to say that Moffat is leaving at the same time.
Yeah, it's also
yeah. Which we'll see. We'll see. It'll be interesting. Mm-hmm. I'll have to get back into it. And we'll have to do like a Doctor Who episode or something.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So yeah, that was kind of a empty discussion there.
Yeah. The speculation already started about who the 13th Doctor is going to be, of course.
Yeah, and someone said Haley Atwell. Which, honestly, I think that would be so great.
Right. I'd be all over that, yeah.
Me too.
Someone else mentioned Ava Green.
Oh, really?
Which I think the wide consensus is it'd be cool if it was a woman.
Yeah.
I think it would too. I don't care. I think it'd be cool if it was anybody. That's not really important to me. Someone else said David Oyelowo.
That would be cool.
Which, I haven't seen him in much. I haven't seen him be funny.
Yeah, me neither.
And the Doctor needs to be able to, deliver some one-liners and some zingers. So I'm a little bit skeptical on that one. But.
If it wasn't for age, because I would think maybe age would be appropriate there. But if it wasn't for his commitment with some movie franchise or whatever, I would say John Boyega would be kind of cool.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yep.
Anyways, tons of options.
Anyway, yeah. So then the last piece of news and whatever part of it, this isn't really anything, but just an update on the Dark Tower movie. We talked about it endlessly. In an alternate universe, we'd be a couple weeks away from it coming out because it was originally slated for February 17th. But now it's pushed to July. I believe the date, I don't think they've actually said the date, but on IMDb and on the internet, they're saying July 28th.
Okay.
Which is cool. They need time for the visual effects. I'm totally fine with that. The problem is we have not seen a damn trailer yet.
I haven't seen, and barely, we saw set photos 4 or 5 months ago, more than that maybe. Yeah,
and there was talk about a trailer at Christmas that didn't happen.
Yeah.
There was talk of or there was a leaked trailer that was pre-visual effects shots and stuff that apparently looks terrible and was quickly deleted from the internet as much as it could be. But all that's to say that Tiny, I've been a little worried because we haven't seen any footage yet. And then we messaged about this, so we can expand upon it in the podcast here, but I kind of came to a realization that as of right now, we are recording this on January 31st, 2017. This Sunday is the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
If we don't see a trailer on Super Bowl Sunday, that's when I will start getting actually concerned.
Yeah.
Because I think it would be really, really great if they they launched the trailer on Super Bowl Sunday.
Yeah. It'd be a huge gamble, I think. Mm-hmm. Just because Just from the perspective that it's such an unknown franchise and Super Bowl ads are wicked expensive.
Right.
So to kick off your advertising campaign with the Super Bowl for a not very widely known and popular franchise, I'd be a little bit surprised maybe, but at the same time, it could work brilliantly. Mm-hmm. So it's really hard to tell if, I don't know, I'll be worried too.
Yeah.
If we don't see it, but I won't be like, burning the place down.
Right.
Yeah.
I think where I'm at with it is that it's, you said not widely known, and that's kind of true. That's kind of fair. But as of right now, we have we have a group of dedicated Dark Tower fans who have read these books for decades, far longer than you and I have. They have grown with these characters and the setting and everything. And it seems like a very vocal part of it are just racist assholes, which I don't care. If seriously, at this point, I still see comments saying that they can't handle that Roland's black. I don't care.
Yeah.
If that's your main point, if you're going to boycott this movie because of it, then I can't take you seriously, or any opinion of yours seriously. I just can't.
Yeah.
Especially when it's fucking Idris Elba. God. Anyway.
I know.
So we have kind of a splinter of, like, in the group of diehard Dark Tower fans that would be the fan base for this movie franchise, that are angry about it because they're racist assholes. So I think that it would be a little bit of a gamble, to do a Super Bowl ad, but also that would, obviously get it in front of as many eyes as possible. Mm-hmm. It will, if it's a well-done trailer, it could blow people's minds and really jumpstart this mainstream marketing campaign for it.
Yeah.
Hopefully they don't fumble it or anything. Hopefully it leads to a touchdown of opening weekends. But we talked about it in our private chat, but it is a gamble, but also this is a fairly low-budget movie that they hope to expand into a franchise. So they haven't spent that much money just creating the movie. Granted, I don't know how it's going in terms of post-production and if it's on budget or not, but they haven't spent a lot of money on it. So if they could, I could see them throwing a couple million at a Super Bowl ad, getting it, like, being that being the introduction of the movie to the mass audience, like that kind of audience for the opening trailer. That could win back that money in the opening weekend. Yeah, in my opinion,
totally.
But we'll see. Hopefully we'll have a trailer. If we do, Tiny, I think maybe we can get a bonus episode discussing it.
Totally.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
good.
I still need to read the last 2 books.
I need to read the last 4.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I'll get into that. Oh, actually, that's a really good transition to our extended potpourri.
Hey.
Yeah. So once again, extended potpourri, we're just talking about movies and shows and the like that we've watched lately, and kind of going to give our thoughts on what we've watched lately. Kind of a laid back episode here. And part of the reason for doing this is because recently we had the big 200th episode where we talked about favorite TV shows. We had before that we had the year in review. Then before that we had the Rogue One episode. So we've had episodes where we haven't had a chance to do a real true potpourri section. So let's get right into it. Going off of your comment about reading books. This first thing, I'm going to go ahead and bring us into the episode. This first one is not a movie or show. So when Mike was on for the year in review episode, he mentioned audiobooks and he mentioned Audible. So I decided to check it out. They're not sponsoring it, so we're not going to go into the minutia of Audible, but basically I got an Audible subscription, and I've been listening to a lot of audiobooks. And the book that I'm listening to now is TV the Book by Alan Sepinwall and Matt Zoller-Seitz. Matt Zoller-Seitz is one of the writers for RogerEbert.com, and Alan Sepinwall is I believe he writes for hitfix.com. They're two really well-respected critics, and really well-respected critics. Oh, hey, that's nice. Matt Zolarsight's actually retweeted my tweet. Anyway,
Nice.
yeah. I've been listening to their book, TV the Book, which they both narrate. TV the Book is essentially a book of essays where they are endeavoring to create a canon of the top 100 American television shows.
Wow.
Yeah, and the criteria that they base this on is that the shows have to be completed, with a couple asterisks there,
Okay.
such as like The Simpsons.
Gotcha.
And the way that they do it is it's kind of funny. They break it down into different categories. So they have a rating scale for innovation, consistency, and just a bunch of other things, longevity, like different criteria for their ratings and everything. So the way that they have it structured is it's basically they have a really good like introduction part of it where it's amazing because if you're not a fan of like audiobooks, I'm just basing this off of the audiobook version of it, but if you're not a fan of audiobooks, it's a good introduction to it because their introduction is essentially them back and forth talking about it. It feels like a discussion.
Oh, cool.
Which is really cool. And then from there, they go into their canon. So they go into going from 1 to 100. They have a special section where for the number 1 was a 5-way tie.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'll just go ahead and just mention what the 5-way tie was.
Okay.
The 5-way tie was between The Simpsons, The Sopranos, The Wire, Cheers, and Breaking Bad.
Nice.
Yeah, and so like the opening of the book is them deciding what place those shows fall in, and then every section after that is essentially an essay about an essay, sometimes 2 essays about each show. So they're going through their 100 best shows, and they're just like narrating the essays that they wrote. And like these guys are just so great. They obviously they're professional critics and everything, and I mean their writing is beautiful, and they speak so eloquently about the shows, and they go into like the high points, low points, and everything, and they have just a really good summation of each show. Some of them, and this is kind of a fault of listening to it on an audiobook format, but some of them I've had to skip over because I didn't want to get spoiled. So like Battlestar Galactica, Justified, but it's really cool and it's very thorough, and I'm really enjoying it. And it's a TV the book. It's available pretty much anywhere. I'll put a link in the show notes and everything with an affiliate link, so if you buy it, you'll give us money. But it's really good. I'm enjoying it. Yeah, and that would have been a good one to bring up for our favorite TV shows episode.
Nice.
But yeah, Tiny, do you have any interest in checking that out?
Definitely, yeah.
Nice.
I need to get into audiobooks.
I highly recommend it.
Yeah.
Like, with like the state of the world and the affection that I have for the Hamilton soundtrack, I've added a ton of like historical nonfiction books to my wish list.
Nice.
And it's like, I mean, like you had the idea to read each biography of each president. I'm just like, I feel like I could do that.
That'll never happen for me.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
This is way too ambitious.
Me neither. But like I'm just thinking like, oh, there's this one.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So
Cool.
yeah. So Tiny, what's your first one?
My first one is The Girl on the Train, which I watched with my fiance the other night. She was really into it. The book was really popular. I don't even remember the author. But it's like a, I don't know, what do you call it, like a Harlequin novel or a love romance novel?
I always thought of it like, from my perception of it, just based on judging it by its cover, was like is it like a mystery, like Gone Girl-esque mystery novel?
I think so, but it's more like trashy love sex novel.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like
I had no idea.
It's like the best-selling one of all time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I don't know.
Eat your heart out, 50 Shades of Grey.
Right. So obviously, I think it's a little bit. There's a comparison there between those two.
Okay.
It's way better than 50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah.
But it still wasn't great.
Really?
It was a decent movie. The summation, the summary on IMDb says a divorcee becomes entangled in a missing persons investigation that promises to send shockwaves throughout her life.
Okay.
Another summation is a bunch of beautiful people have sex with each other and none of them are happy.
Oh, nice.
That's kind of the best way to put it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's got a great cast: Emily Blunt, Justin Theroux, Luke Evans, Edgar Ramirez, Laura Prepon, Haley Bennett. Did I say her?
No.
Rebecca Ferguson. I wasn't familiar with those last two, but it's got a good cast. And Haley Bennett was really good in this.
Nice.
I hadn't seen her in much. She's kind of like the really slutty girl in this movie, but she's really slutty because she has issues.
Oh.
She was in The Equalizer, Magnificent Seven, Marley and Me.
Okay.
I just had no memory of her. She's really like stunningly gorgeous.
Nice.
But yeah, she wasn't just what I appreciated about her character is that she's the one who's having the affair with the married man, you know.
Okay.
So she's typically that's like the trashy girl or like the not a lot of depth to that kind of character, but there's like some there's some scenes where she's like in session with a psychiatrist.
Okay.
And she's like really a troubled person, and she did a really good job portraying that. So I was surprised to see that much depth in that kind of character. And I thought that was kind of a fresh twist on that whole dynamic. I thought that was well done. Mm-hmm. Justin Theroux was kind of playing a typical character for him, I think, but he was still good. I like him. And then Emily Blunt's character is kind of like the main character, and she's. I just wasn't crazy about the character. She was just hard to. She's our path through the story, and she's just so messed up. It's kind of hard to keep track of everything. But it was an interesting movie. It was filmed really well. And it's an interesting story and stuff like that. But it's just I don't know. It just felt kind of. I'm just kind of annoyed by these kind of movies. Like, you're all really beautiful and you're having sex with each other. Be happy. Like, just be happy. You know? I don't know.
Well, sometimes life isn't about sex, Tiny.
I disagree. No, I don't know. I just it was okay.
Okay.
Yeah, and it kind of has a bit of a. I don't know if I'd say it has a twist.
Okay.
But there's kind of something gets flipped towards the end in the climax of the movie, and it kind of threw me for a loop, and I was kind of surprised. It was
nice.
It was interesting. There is a murder mystery involved in this as well, so it throws that in the mix. It was a decent movie. I gave it a 6 out of 10.
Sure.
Okay. It was okay. The director, Tate Taylor. Apparently, people were saying things. Oh, he did like The Help, Winter's Bone, some other ones. Yeah, I wasn't overly familiar with his work, but it was. I mean, I liked it.
Nice. Okay.
I liked his work. I'm saying the movie was okay.
Gotcha.
I liked his work though. Yeah.
Okay. That was a movie that I kind of was a little bit curious about, but just never got around to seeing. So
yeah,
I might continue that.
Yeah.
Okay. My next one is Why Him?
Wow, you saw that.
I did, and it's a Christmas comedy movie, and I saw it January 11th. So some of the Christmas season aspect of it was a little lost on me, but the movie interested me because it's James Franco and Bryan Cranston, kind of a silly comedy, R-rated comedy.
Yeah.
So, the plot description real quick is a holiday gathering threatens to go off the rails when Ned Fleming realizes that his daughter's Silicon Valley billionaire boyfriend is about to pop the question. So, this movie was not great. It's not terrible. It's watchable. It's serviceable. The director is John Hamburg, who did I Love You Man, which is one of my favorite comedies of the past decade or so.
Nice.
Yeah, and this movie kind of just didn't deliver on the comedy that well. I liked the dynamic between Franco and Cranston, but it was just some of it was just a little bit forced. Franco is this eccentric billionaire has no filter throughout the movie, which is that's a good breeding ground for comedy, but just a lot of the comedy just fell kind of flat to me. Like there's this whole thing with an art piece that's like a stuffed buffalo that's encased in a glass enclosure that's covered in its own, like the water in it is the buffalo's own urine.
Okay.
And it's really weird, like that exists, like it's a weird like introduction to the characters, like, oh, I have this thing here. It's used strictly as foreshadowing or as like setup for something that would pay off later. But
right.
One of the things I found kind of peculiar about this movie is that the trailer seems to hint at a subplot that is entirely just excised from the entire movie, the finished product. So Cranston finds out that Franco is about to propose to his daughter, and to Cranston's daughter, and in the trailer there's a scene where Cranston is trying to warn his daughter about the proposal, and it's hinted at that this is a big part of the movie, but that's nowhere to be found. It's more just him dealing with getting with the fact that his daughter is about to get engaged, I guess. And it just kind of fell flat. There's one setup that I thought was really, there was one thing that was set up that I wish would have been paid off better, but it's James Franco is talking in private to Bryan Cranston, and somehow the word bukkake comes up, and Cranston doesn't understand what it means. So Franco just says like, "Oh, it means like a really crazy situation," and like that's a decent setup, but the payoff was just, it fell flat to me. So yeah, so this movie didn't cover my face in anything. It just kind of, it came and went.
Nice.
I saw the movie, and I've talked too much about it, really. It's kind of one of those forgettable comedies. It wasn't anything terrible, but nothing to write home about. Okay. And that's why him. Tiny, what's your next one?
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you paid money to see that.
Well, Movie Pass.
Oh, yeah.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
Good call.
Yep.
Up next, another crapper. Well, this one's really crappy. Gods of Egypt.
Oh, nice.
This was totally the result of, like, it was a Friday night, and I was going to be home alone, and I didn't want to go anywhere. It was like, I'm going to ride the couch, and I don't want to think. I just want to watch something stupid, or like, I just wanted to watch something blow up, or, like just totally switch off the brain.
Sure.
And so I was just flipping through, the movie channels, and I was looking at Amazon Prime and Netflix and stuff, and I was like, I went over to HBO Go, and they had this. I was like, perfect. It has a 5.5 rating on IMDb, and that is really generous. This movie was horrible.
Nice. Do you want to read the plot description?
Yes, the plot description. Mortal hero Beck teams with the god Horus in an alliance against Set, the merciless god of darkness, who has usurped Egypt's throne, plunging the once peaceful and prosperous empire into chaos and conflict. That description had eons more eloquence than the movie did itself. The premise of it is also that the gods are like human form type people who literally rule Egypt, like physically. I don't know if that's part of Egypt's religion. I don't know, but it was weird because Nikolai Coster-Waldau of the Lannisters from Game of Thrones, and Gerard Butler and Chadwick Boseman and some other people are gods, like they're Set and Horus and Isis and Osiris and stuff.
Okay,
but they're like they look like humans, but they're like 50% taller.
Okay.
So it's all like the fucking hobbits in Lord of the Rings, how they make them look like little people.
Okay.
That's the whole movie.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's really stupid. So like all the gods are like 9-10 feet tall, and for like no reason. It's just dumb. It was such a stupid choice. So this also takes place obviously in Egypt. Mm-hmm. They could have filmed the whole thing in Iowa.
Oh, really?
There was so much CGI. Oh, every single background was green.
Jeez.
Green screen, and just CGI'd it in. Mm-hmm. Very few like physical props and sets. It was blatant. Like, not that the effects were really bad or anything, right. But there was just no. You could tell. You could just tell everything was just CGI. So that was really annoying. Kind of the lead, the mortal guy Beck. Is played by an actor I'd never heard of, an Australian guy named Brenton Thwaites, which I just want to punch that name in the face. He is like way too good looking. Okay. Like to the point where it looks like he might be a robot. Someone may have built him in a lab. Okay. He was just, you cannot buy him. I could not buy him as a character at all. He's just too, he needs to be a model or something. He's too good looking, which is a weird thing. And Chadwick Boseman, I love Chadwick Boseman. Everything I've ever seen him in, he's been like such a wonderful surprise and just a delightful actor to watch dive into a character. I've loved Chadwick Boseman, and God, he sucked in this. The character was so stupid. He played Thoth, which I don't know anything about that.
I got nothing.
The God of Wisdom or something. I don't know.
Sure.
It was, he was using this ridiculous accent. Mm-hmm. It was bad. The only quasi-likable character was played by Elodie Young, who played Elektra in Daredevil.
Oh, okay.
Which I loved her as Elektra. Yeah. She's great. She played Hathor. I don't know what that guy. I don't know.
Sure.
She's a god. It's a god of some kind. But yeah, she was quasi-interesting in this movie. But that was about it. Everything was just so. I don't know. The fact that everything was like, this is one of the most egregious examples of whitewashing I've ever seen in the history of. None of these people are even, the closest person who is even close to Egyptian would be Chadwick Boseman because he's black. Mm-hmm. Everyone else is white.
Jeez.
Nikolai Coster-Waldau is like Dutch or something. I don't know. Gerard Butler's Scottish. Brendan Thwaites is Australian. Even Elodie Young, who is not like, doesn't look like a white person. Basically, she's French and Cambodian. Oh, so she's Asian. I mean, it's like they didn't even try. I mean, it's just they didn't try to have anyone that was remotely Egyptian or it was just really bad. Wow. The script was terrible. The plot was predictable, and I really didn't care for it. What's his name? Jeffrey Rush.
Okay.
Must have needed a paycheck or something.
Really?
He played Ra.
Okay.
Which I thought, one of the other things I thought was kind of cool was the depiction of Ra, who is the sun god. Mm-hmm. So they depicted him like on this vessel that was like towing the sun up in space. It was sort of cool. I gave him a little bit of credit for that. It was kind of a cool thing. But the movie was just really bad.
That sucks.
It was. It should never have been made.
Wow. So suffice it to say, you're not saying rah for this?
Not so much.
Okay.
Not so much.
That's what I thought.
Can't even enjoy your puns right now. Yeah.
Okay. Well. I mean, if you can't enjoy my puns now, wait until you hear what I'm going to bring up here. No. Last night, Tiny, I went and saw a feature film at the cinema called The Founder. Yes, and it led to perhaps one of my most proudest moments on Facebook and Twitter.
It was a good one.
Thank you. So to preface this, The Founder is the story of Ray Kroc, a salesman who turned two brothers' innovative fast food eatery, McDonald's, into one of the biggest restaurant businesses in the world with a combination of ambition, persistence, and ruthlessness. Stars Michael Keaton as Ray Kroc, and it led to one of my most satisfying Facebook posts that I've had. I don't care. I'm shameless. I really enjoyed it. I posted a status saying, just saw The Founder about Ray Kroc and the founding of McDonald's. I thought it was an interesting story, but it felt a little long. So you might say it could have worked better as a quarter founder, which I was super proud of. But no, anyway, The Founder is pretty interesting. As I said, it is an interesting story. I find myself taken with these stories of like ambitious, like business starts. Like I loved The Social Network, and to The Founder's fault, it is somewhat of a social network, not ripoff, but it's like they took the story of Ray Kroc, which admittedly I don't know much about, but it's like they took the story and they kind of presented it in a way that's very much the way that Social Network is. And I mean, part of that is, I mean, they're similar stories. This guy basically created the McDonald's Corporation and kind of usurped the founding members or the people who created the restaurant out of their business. So it is a similar story. It's just told in a similar manner. And that's not to say it's cutting back and forth between court proceedings or anything like that. It's just the way that, like the way the movie builds to certain climactic moments and certain dramatic moments feel very much like this is what worked with Sorkin and Fincher and The Social Network. Let's do the same thing here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I will say that honestly, like, I didn't make that pun just to make that pun. It is genuine. Like there's a scene kind of in the opening of the movie where Ray Kroc meets the McDonald brothers. Ray Kroc is played by Michael Keaton. The McDonald's brothers are played by John Carroll Lynch and Nick Offerman.
Awesome.
So great. Like that's such great casting.
Yes.
They're not necessarily wasted, but they are kind of pushed aside because it's Michael Keaton's show there. And the way that they introduce those characters is Michael Keaton visits the McDonald's restaurant, the only one that exists at the time. And he basically meets with them because he's a milkshake salesman or a milkshake mixer salesman, and they've ordered 6 mixers, and he's perplexed by this. So he goes to visit them, gets a tour of the restaurant. They show him they're presented as these kind of very good-natured, down-home people who are very open to, you know, just, hey, here's this really innovative restaurant design that we've created. And so there's a sequence where they're all having dinner and they are telling Ray Kroc the story of McDonald's from when they started it as a drive-in restaurant and how it evolved and how they worked out a system and how they did all that. And the entire time, they're telling the story at a restaurant, at a dinner setting, and we're seeing like little snippets and little tiny like vignettes of them throughout all of these trials and tribulations. And all I kept thinking was, this is the movie I want to see. I want to see a movie about these two brothers creating this restaurant and struggling and failing. Cause I'm so fascinated by that type of story, like story of people creating their own business or creating, like starting their own thing and building it into something that's huge. Mm-hmm. I mean, come on, we've been podcasting for 3.5 years and now we have a Facebook group that has like 23 people. So yeah. I think you guys can understand.
Right.
Seriously, go to facebook.com/theobsessivehero, join the Facebook group. But yeah, I'm really attracted to those kinds of stories. And so this movie it kind of muddles itself with the story of Ray Kroc and how he transitioned that into basically usurping these brothers from their business. And it's an interesting story. And the way that he maneuvers this and works around some things, and he, like, his whole pitch is that they need to franchise this restaurant, and knowing that this is going to become one of the biggest corporations in the country and the world. I mean, you know where it's going to lead. And that's interesting in its own right, but I don't think it's enough to really sustain the full movie, because once it gets to that point where he's franchising different restaurants and everything, it kind of gets away from the brothers. And those, I think they're kind of the heart of the story. They're the Eduardo Savron of the story.
Mm-hmm.
And they're literally pushed aside, and they're just basically, their scenes are them talking on the phone to Ray Kroc and reacting to things that he's doing. And I think that does a disservice to the movie in a pretty big way and the story, because it becomes about Ray Kroc creating this empire and not about the brothers who lost so much. So
interesting.
Yeah, so I had high hopes for it. I wouldn't say it's a bad movie. It was interesting and watchable and good for what it was. I just think that the story and the way that it was created, I think that there is a much better movie that could have been made out of the story, but the one we got's okay.
Okay.
Yep. And Michael Keaton does a fantastic job.
Nice, as always.
Oh yeah. And that's The Founder, and I saw it in the theater. Tiny, what's your next one?
Cool. Up next for me is a very overlooked movie, I think, from 2015 called American Ultra.
Okay.
Yeah, you may remember the trailers. Basically, the synopsis says, a stoner, who is in fact a government agent, is marked as a liability and targeted for extermination. But he's too well-trained and too high for them to handle. That's, for me, that's kind of a funny premise, you know. There's kind of that's a funny premise. There's been a lot of, not necessarily a lot, but there's been, an influx over the past decade or so of secret agent movies, specifically secret agents who don't know they're secret agents, stuff like that. You know, it's like you say the right phrase to him and it triggers him and he turns into a killing machine. So that's kind of a cookie cutter scenario. And so they're taking that and applying it to a stoner. What if that guy was a stoner, you know, in a nowhere town in West Virginia? It's a funny premise, and I appreciate that. And I like the casting of Jesse Eisenberg. You know, I wouldn't expect him for that role. It's funny. Right. So in that, I like it from that perspective, but I just don't think they quite got it for this. The funniest ongoing joke is that, you know, he gets activated, but he's high because he smokes a lot of weed. Okay. So that's funny. And so like throughout it, he's presented with these scenarios where he needs to think his way out, but he's dumb because he's high. That's a funny idea, and that works a few times throughout the movie, but I feel like there was a ton of potential for that to be like hilarious, and it wasn't hilarious. It was just kind of funny. There's some decent action. The female lead is Kristen Stewart. Take that as you will.
Right.
I really don't have much of a problem with her, but so many people seem to hate her for whatever reason.
and that seems like a role that she would be kind of better suited for. Is she also kind of like a stoner character in it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. She seems like she'd be suited for that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I liked her fine in this movie. Some of the other notable casting is Connie Britton, John Leguizamo, who I used to love. He's such an overactor. He overacts like crazy. Topher Grace, Walton Goggins.
Nice.
Tony Hale, Bill Pullman.
Dang.
Pretty solid cast. Of note is, or something I wanted to mention was Topher Grace, who I feel like I used to like really like that guy and be like, oh, Topher Grace is in this. That's cool. But I feel like over the last 5 to 7 years, ever since Spider-Man 3, really, he's basically like a character actor. He
has definitely receded into kind of just not really the limelight.
Yeah, he's not noteworthy anymore. Interstellar.
Yeah.
Why was he in that movie?
Right.
You know, like it didn't make any sense. Yeah. So, and this was kind of another. He was just playing. He was literally playing a suit. He was a CIA suit. I mean, just not an interesting character at all. Not that he was particularly bad or anything. He was fine, but just I don't know. I feel like he has more potential than that.
Okay.
He's just not using it. I don't know. So yeah, it was an okay movie. Again, the premise is really clever, and I feel like in the right hands, it could have been a pretty cool movie. It could have been Zombielandish.
Oh, interesting.
Linked to Jesse Eisenberg there, but I think it had the potential to be that good, and it unfortunately didn't quite deliver. I gave it a 6 out of 10.
Okay.
Well, so
sure.
Yeah, it was okay.
Okay, nice. And that is American Ultra.
Yep.
And did you watch that on Netflix or anything?
Amazon Prime.
Amazon
it's
Prime.
free. It's part of Prime membership on there. So, yeah.
Sweet. My next one is a movie that I am racking my brain trying to think if I mentioned this on the podcast. I don't think I did, but it's Nocturnal Animals.
Nice.
It's the Tom Ford movie that Tiny you mentioned in an episode a while ago.
Yeah,
about one you were looking forward to.
Yeah, I was pretty enthusiastic about it and lost most of that enthusiasm.
Yeah, it's so okay. The and this has been a while since I've seen it, so bear with me. The plot description is: a wealthy art gallery owner is haunted by her ex-husband's novel, a violent thriller she interprets as a symbolic revenge tale. So, this movie kind of has a dual narrative kind of structure. It's based on a novel by Austin Wright. This story is basically, you have the story of Amy Adams doing her art gallery owner thing, and reading this manuscript that her ex-husband has sent to her, just kind of out of the blue. She's remarried. She has a husband, a nice, wealthy life and everything. So out of the blue, she receives this manuscript that says something to the effect of, I was inspired to write this or something like that. And like it's dedicated to her. So the story, then the movie breaks off into a separate concurrent storyline. That's the story of the novel. So it's like this family, played by, in the movie, played by Jake Gyllenhaal. And I want to say that Isla Fisher plays her in the story, which it's really funny because Isla Fisher and Amy Adams look exactly alike.
Yeah,
so much.
They do.
Yeah. And, ignorance on my part. When I was watching it, I thought that it was the same person that was in, I really did. So, I was sitting there thinking man, wow, Amy Adams really does look like Isla Fisher. So it's the story of how Jake Gyllenhaal's character, they're going on a family trip, and then they get pulled over by a group of kind of country hoodlums. And then things happen.
Okay.
And so I won't go into detail about what it is. It's kind of shocking and pretty, gritty and interesting. So you have both of these storylines going concurrently. We have Amy Adams reading it and reflecting on it, and then we see the story play out as if we're watching that story play out. So it's an interesting structure. I can respect the movie, and I do respect the movie for what it did, because it juggled two different things, and there are some really interesting connections that I didn't really make until kind of late in the movie and until on the drive home from the theater when I saw it, thinking just the implications of scenes, and what they mean after you have the whole picture is really kind of really fascinating. And the way that they underplay these really big dramatic moments, and they could have done these things that could be really huge reveals, but they have it kind of sedated and planted early in the movie, and it kind of has something that you can kind of work out after the experience. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention that in the story section of the movie, Michael Shannon plays a detective, and Aaron Taylor Johnson plays kind of the leader of the guys who attack the family. And they both give really great performances, really fantastic. But I don't know. Ultimately, the movie didn't really it didn't make my top 10, didn't make my honorable mentions. It just kind of was a little bit underwhelming to me. Also, it opens with this really strange thing that it wasn't really a mark against the movie, but it was, the opening credits. It's one of the more interesting opening credit sequences I've ever seen in a movie. Mm-hmm. And it opens with, very, large women dancing burlesquely in the nude. And it's interesting as like an art piece. And I read that Tom Ford included that in the movie as kind of a statement against our culture and how we view women and everything, which totally respect that, totally understand where it's coming from. Honestly, I don't see how it fit in the movie that he was in, the story that it was being told, and the movie that it was.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of a head scratcher. So that was kind of bizarre. But the movie overall, I thought was just pretty solid. Again, it didn't make my top 10 list or anything like that, but I don't regret seeing it, and it left me with some pretty interesting thoughts coming out of it. I kind of went in with a little bit of a bias, thinking that it would be more of a thriller and suspense thing. Like, I kind of interpreted the plot as being about her viewing the manuscript as a threat at her, and thinking that it was him like coming to kill her. But it's not that. It's more contemplative. It's more reflective on their relationship told in the story. And the way that they kind of tie that back together is at times really, really fulfilling for an audience member. And at other times it's like, okay, I get why, like, I understand now why this is a part of the story, but this doesn't, like, it doesn't make sense. Like, why is it such why are we having such prominence on this one scene and its relation to the story being told when it's just literally like the make of a car? It's kind of weird, but
interesting.
Yeah. So it was pretty good. It was pretty good. Not really great, but it was pretty good. And that's Nocturnal Animals. And, yeah.
Gotcha.
Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, it piqued my interest because it was, Tom Ford, who's a multifaceted artist and stuff like that, and not necessarily known for filmmaking, and it was Jake Gyllenhaal. So I was like,
and Jake Gyllenhaal was really fantastic in it as well. I didn't mean to kind of give him the shaft on that. He's been doing such amazing work lately,
right?
And Nocturnal Animals is another good entry in that. I would say that Aaron Taylor Johnson kind of stole the show from him, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yep.
Cool.
He kind of stole it in kind of a very. If you view the theater as like a silver screen, it's kind of a Quicksilver kind of way.
Oh,
nice. He stole it.
Yeah. Was it pretty badass? Hey.
Kick-ass.
Kick-ass, fuck.
Yeah, it was totally Godzilla.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Okay, what's your next one, Tiny?
My next one is also a very underappreciated film from 2013 called The Railway Man.
You mentioned this before we were recording, and I mean, I've got nothing.
Yeah, it's on Netflix. Watch the shit out of it. That's my initial recommendation. It's based on a book by Eric Lomax. It is based on a true story. The synopsis on IMDb says, a former British Army officer who was tormented as a prisoner of war at a Japanese labor camp during World War II discovers that the man responsible for much of his treatment is still alive and sets out to confront him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it's a true story, which blew me away. I thought maybe it was a dramatization as I was watching the movie, and then at the end they were like, this is a true story. They show pictures of the dudes. It's just one of those incredible the truth is stranger than fiction kind of situations.
Okay.
Just a remarkable true story. The lead is Colin Firth, and the female lead is Nicole Kidman. Stellan Skarsgård also is one of the other notable actors. And then the Japanese officer, the adult, older version of the Japanese officer, is played by Hiroyuki Sanada of Sunshine and Lost fame.
Sweet.
Who is awesome. Every time I see him, he's great. So yeah, this movie was really incredible. I really love the way it was structured because, it has this incredible story of a man being tortured for a long time during a time of war, and it ruins his life. Absolutely ruins his life. But they don't start there. It's really fascinating. It starts out with basically like a meet cute, where he meets Nicole Kidman on a train, and it's called The Railway Man because he's a train enthusiast, which is kind of a goofy thing. He's a nerd. He's a giant nerd who loves trains. And so he meets Nicole Kidman on a train, and they have a conversation about where the different railways go in England, and that he's ridden like every mile of rail in England because he just loves trains.
Okay.
So it starts out there, and they fall in love, and they get married, and then she finds out that he basically has PTSD because he's so messed up from being tortured by the Japanese in a Japanese labor camp during World War II. And he finds out that this guy's still alive and goes to confront him, and the movie goes from there. Okay. It's just such a powerful story. They show flashbacks of this guy being tortured, and it's really hard to watch. It made me think of like Zero Dark 30, okay. Sitting through those torture scenes. It makes you uncomfortable, and it's supposed to, and that's the right kind of reaction to have, even though you don't enjoy having it. It influences the story so well that it has to be in there. They didn't shy away from the fact that there has to be torture in the movie. Okay. So I think they make good choices in that respect. Colin Firth, he's one of the best. He's one of the best working actors right now. I absolutely loved him in this. It's such a bummer that so many people have never heard of this movie. It's really a shame. My future mother-in-law actually told me about it. Okay. And I'm thankful because it's just a really great movie, and I think so many people have never heard of it. I don't even know if it was in theaters very long. And it's really a shame because it's such an incredible movie. I don't want to tell you much more about it because I don't want to spoil anything. It's a fantastic movie, great performances. It's beautiful. I think some of it was filmed, maybe on location in Singapore or Southeast Asia, where he was imprisoned by the Japanese army. And then also he lives as an older man, married to Nicole Kidman. He lives in the Highlands, like Scotland area, which is just incredible geography. It's such a great movie. Please, I mean, the story, it's just like one of those stories that it's just unbelievable that it's actually true.
Nice. Not nice, but
yeah. It's shockingly true. I'll put it that way.
Okay.
Really great movie. Again, Netflix, go check it out. You can also rent it on Amazon Video for $3. So it's totally worth $3. Great movie.
Sweet. Cool. I will have to check that out. Okay. Next up for me, and how many more do you have?
I just have one more.
One more. Okay, next up for me is Battlestar Galactica. I won't talk very much about it because I talked about it months ago when I finished season 1, and I'm just kind of checking in on it now. I'm almost done with season 2, kind of going at a very slow pace. But I have one episode left in season 2, so I've watched the first half of the season finale, Lay Down Your Burdens. And I'm really liking the way that this show is evolving. With its narrative. It started out as, something like 48,000 humans, escaping a Cylon attack on Caprica and kind of surviving in space as they're being in pursuit of Cylons. And season 2 kind of took the story and kind of evolved it a little bit. The first season had a kind of a heavy base in like religious zealotry to an extent, and the religions of the world of Battlestar Galactica. And here in season 2, there's a little bit of that, but it's more about kind of the interminglings between the characters aboard the ship, and there is, or among the fleet rather, and kind of it has some interesting stuff with the governing of the surviving humans, and it's really kept my interest quite a bit. There's some interesting stuff going on. The first season, to its detriment for me, kind of split between the fleet and what was going on with a couple characters on Caprica throughout the first season. It was kind of intercutting between the two, and that kind of didn't really work for me that much, at least the first time I saw it. And then now that I've watched season 2, they haven't abandoned that, but the pieces have moved into a place where they don't do that quite that often. There's still some stuff going on in Caprica, but it's not as heavy as in season 1. And I think that was very much to the show's kind credit. There is a story arc in season 2 that I don't know if I should really spoil it or bring it up really, but the Pegasus arc. Tony, do you remember this?
It's been years since I've watched that show. I need to revisit it.
Okay. So there's an arc in season 2 where they basically, how to say it without really spoiling it. There's an arc in season 2 that involves, 2 commanding officers kind of going up against each other, essentially, in a couple different like military, factions kind of having this conflict between them. Unfortunately, it's like a 3-episode arc. I really, like, when it happened, I was like, this is hooking me back into the show. Like, I am all for this. And then when that kind of arc ended, I was like, they just ended what could have been like a season-long arc. And I think that was kind of ballsy on their part, and it did make way for some interesting stuff in the end run of season 2. But
was it Ty and Adama going at each other?
No, it was Adama and what was her name? She was in season 2 of 24. Michelle Forbes' character.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's been like 5 years.
Okay.
Or 6 years or more since I've watched the second season of.
Sure. But yeah, it's some really interesting stuff going on with that. And so I'll report back probably when I finish season 3 down the road.
I'm glad you're watching it.
Yeah, I'm really liking it. Nice. I really am. And I'm watching it on Hulu.
Cool.
Yeah. And Tiny, you got one more thing?
Yeah, the last thing I have to bring up is a new series from Netflix called The OA.
Oh, yeah?
OA.
OA?
Yeah. The show, the synopsis for it is, having gone missing 7 years ago, the previously blind Prairie returns home, now in her 20s, with her sight restored. While many believe she is a miracle, others worry that she could be dangerous. The series is written by and produced by Britt Marling, who's an actress I've been following for quite a few years now. I loved her work in movies like Another Earth, I Origins, The East. Right. I like those movies a lot.
I remember you're a big fan of The East.
Yeah, I like I think it made my top 10 that year.
That sounds about right.
Or at least a honorable mention. So sure. She's really great, and I've been looking forward to her career for a while. Been following her, and she's really great in this. She created and produced and wrote the show with a friend of hers. I don't know how to pronounce his name. I'm just going to take a stab at it. Zal Batmanglish. I don't know if that's correct at all, but that's how it's phonetically spelled. He also directed all the episodes. So these two, I'm always a fan of projects where you have two people just completely taking the reins on it. With the acting, writing, producing, directing, I think that's the sign. It can be the sign of a very good project, and in this case, it absolutely worked out. I really love the first season. Some of the other notable cast members are Scott Wilson from The Walking Dead, Jason Isaacs, who's one of my favorite character actors. Awesome. I love everything I ever see him in. And then there's Phyllis Smith from The Office.
Oh, really?
Is great. I really liked her in this.
Okay.
And then there's several unknown actors who are phenomenal. Patrick Gibson really stands out. He's kind of like a troubled teenager who kind of finds a path, if you will, in the show. And I had never seen him, never even heard of him. He really stood out among some of the unknown actors. The show it's very odd. I will say that it's not. It's a little bit Twin Peaks-ish, kind of weird. It's odd. It's hard to get a grasp on it, but it's a really crazy story. I mean, it's about this girl who she's blind and she gets her sight back, and it's very science fiction. It's very supernatural, nice. Existential. It has this spiritual twist to it. It's, there's some religion in it. It's really fascinating. And unfortunately, I think the weirdness will put some people off, and that's really a shame because it's such a cool story. It involves a cast of people who are held captive for years in literal glass cages. It's really fascinating. It's weird, but man, it's great. The characters are awesome. You can watch all, I think it's 8 episodes. Yeah, all 8 episodes, and you get some answers to some things, and you get more questions to things that you just have no idea what's going on. But you feel like you know what's going on. It's really goofy. OA is the name. The OA is the name of Britt Marling's character.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and there's no explanation as to why she wants to be called the OA.
Okay.
It's really odd, and it has, man, it's just really cool. It's something that you can't. It really does not fit into a box. I mean, it's sci-fi, it's drama. I mean, it just does not fit into a box. It's really its own thing, and I think people are connecting to that. So definitely check it out. I think it's a really unique show, and I'm glad that I think it's gotten renewed for another season.
Yeah, I don't know if it has or not, but that sounds really interesting. It sounds kind of vaguely, the way you describe it reminded me of Lost. So
it is. It has some Lost elements. It's kind of like Lost and the X-Files had a baby. Nice. Yeah. It's with a bunch of weirdness thrown in.
Sweet.
Yeah, it's like Lost and the X-Files had a baby and Charlie Kaufman wrote it.
Okay.
That's how I'll say it.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. That's awesome. Yeah, I'll definitely have to check that out.
Please do.
I before I get into my last one, that kind of reminds me, like, when listening to TV the Book, God, there's so many times where I'm like, fuck, I really need to watch that show. I really need to watch this show. I really need to watch a show. And a couple of examples is, one, the X-Files. I mean, I'm going to dive into it here soon.
Yeah.
Probably right now I'm watching Battlestar Galactica, and also I'm going through Star Trek The Next Generation, kind of at a slower pace.
Mm-hmm.
But as soon as I have like free time in my TV watching, I mean, the X-Files is on my list.
Nice. I'm not sure you'll like it, because it's super.
I know it has like Monster of the Week elements.
Yeah, it does. But it does have some linear story that follows through the season and the series as a whole, actually.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just not sure you'll be able to get through. If it were on cable, you know what I mean? It only had like 10 or 13 episodes a season. I think you'd be cool with it, but there's 20 plus episodes in a season. Yeah. There's just a lot of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did watch an episode written by Vince Gilligan a while back. For Anthology, and I really liked that episode as a standalone thing. So I'll have to check it out. But TV the Book, like, I mean, they're like, I was sitting there thinking, like, I could make this like a project to like make sure it like watches as many of the shows on the list as I can. And I was like, maybe watch as many of the pilot episodes on this list as I can.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I mean, it was funny because I was actually sitting at Panera Bread, just having coffee and making doing some work on my phone, and I was listening to it, and I got a text from Fecus. What did he say? He said something, and it was bizarre because it was his reaction to our TV show episodes. He sent me a picture of a meme that showed a picture of the Godfather with I don't remember who that character is, kissing Don Vito Corleone's ring.
Mm-hmm.
And the meme says, "When your friend finally watches a show you kept telling them about and they love it." And he sent that saying in reference to Black Mirror.
Nice.
And I said, "I made you an offer you couldn't refuse, or suggestion. I made you a suggestion you couldn't refuse." And then, that's how it came up. He said, "I'm just happy you didn't put a dead horse head in my bed." I said, "Well, with your refusal to watch The Shield, that's coming." Because he said that he actually said this off the mic when he was leaving for, after his last guest spot. He said that he kind of refuses to watch The Shield.
I can't blame him.
I really can't either. I really can't.
Yeah.
Cause I mean, he is a police officer and it's, I don't know, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but it kind of seems like, I mean, it's a show about dirty cops, and he just isn't interested in watching that. But I mean, I would go so far as to say it doesn't necessarily glorify dirty cops.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an anti-hero show.
Yeah.
But anyway, so he was, I mentioned that when he brought that up, I was listening to them talk about, The Shield on, TV The Book. But anyway.
That's funny.
Yeah, so there are a ton of shows on the list that I'm going to have to check out. But kind of a roundabout way to get to my point is that, like they have referenced in the book so far, they've referenced several cop shows. Okay. There's Hill Street Blues, NYPD Blue, Homicide, Life on the Streets, and a couple others I can't remember. Miami Vice,
The Shield,
The Shield, yeah. But the point is like those four that I mentioned. I really want to watch them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I really do. Like Hill Street Blues, NYPD Blue. I definitely want to watch those. I absolutely want to watch Homicide. Yeah. In the way that they talk about it, it makes me very interested in seeing them. And it makes me really want to just kind of go in and like compare that coupled with, couple months ago, I watched a couple episodes or the first episode of Adam 12. And like, I would love to like sit down and just watch like as many like cop shows throughout the years and see how it evolved and everything. The problem is Hill Street Blues, the first 3 seasons are available on Hulu out of 7. Mm-hmm. NYPD Blue used to be on Amazon Prime, but is no longer available. What was the third one I said? Oh, Homicide is freaking nowhere.
Yeah.
It's like you can buy the seasons on DVD, but I mean, it's not available anywhere. Like, I would freaking love it if someone bought the streaming rights to every like cop show and created a streaming service just for that niche.
Yeah.
That would be so cool.
Awesome.
And then I also, like, they were talking about Law and Order, and I was like, I've never watched an episode of Law and Order in my life.
Really?
I never have. And just the way that it's structured makes me kind of want to check it out.
It's pretty, I've seen several episodes. It's pretty entertaining.
Yeah. See, and I think I would like it, but also, like, when I was listening to them talk about it, all I thought was like, if it was available to stream somewhere, I would love for someone, obviously not us, to create a podcast that just goes through Law and Order, but the host would be like 2 hosts, like a detective and like a retired detective and a retired prosecutor or something.
Yeah.
Dissecting Law and Order episodes. Like, that would be a really great podcast.
Yeah.
But
when I was doing my criminal justice degree, we actually I had a couple assignments where we had to watch episodes of Law and Order.
Oh, nice.
And it's because it's such a procedural show, and I know that can be taxing as a viewer to see something so procedural, and it's not always fun, but it's procedurally accurate. So that's why we watched it in as part of our assignment for our show. And he was like, our teacher was telling us like, it's ridiculous because they solve every single crime and they solve it in 45 minutes. Right. He's like, but they follow the steps of adjudication really religiously. So it's a good learning tool for us, and it's also really entertaining. So I actually really enjoyed the episodes I had to watch for it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah, so eventually at some point in my life I might watch it eventually.
Cool.
Who knows?
There's plenty of it out there.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so again, another endorsement for TV The Book. I mean, their handling of the Cosby Show in it, and like their essay on it, is really interesting.
Really?
Yeah, because it's not like they don't do like the caveat of, okay, he did some really horrible, abominable things, but the show was great.
Yeah. It's
more like a eulogy for the show because you can't watch it anymore because he's a fucking monster.
Yeah.
It's really interesting the way that they handle that. But anyway, sidetrack aside, my last piece of potpourri for this episode is actually The Daily Show with Trevor Noah.
Nice.
Yeah. With the state of the world right now, I kind of feel like I need to be a lot more informed. So I'm watching The Daily Show. I'm going to check out, Last Week Tonight. I'm following, reading a lot online and stuff, just about events that are happening.
Yeah.
Because it's weird. On that same note, by the way, weekly check-in for He Will Not Divide.us. Shia LaBeouf was arrested.
I saw that.
Yeah, which it's like, like I think on the podcast I mentioned that he's got trolls coming and talking, like causing a stir on it, and it's like that in the interim between the recording of last week's episode and this week's episode, that's gone just completely batshit. It's like you've got people that are just in there for trolling purposes only. It's kind of killing the vibe. And like the guy that had him arrested, it's like it's the most BS thing. It's like this guy was at the He Will Not Divide Us wall. He had his phone open with the front facing camera recording, and he motioned Shia over. He's like, "Oh, hey Shia, come here." And Shia comes up thinking that it's like, a fan. He's just wanting to get a picture or something. Mm-hmm. Then like the guy just said, "Hitler did nothing wrong," and then Shia just pushed him away and walked away. And he got like arrested for. I don't think there were any charges brought on it, but like he got arrested for it because he shoved the guy for saying. Jeez. It's like, God, just people are just fuck. Anyway, that's a weekly check-in for He Will Not Divide Us. But anyway, The Daily Show. So I haven't watched The Daily Show with any regularity since Jon Stewart left. Mm-hmm. If I'm being honest, I am pretty. I mean, I've always been kind of apathetic with politics and everything, and to a fault for sure. It's something I'm rectifying. Maybe that could be like my New Year's resolution, to be more informed for the coming apocalypse. But so I've been watching Trevor Noah on The Daily Show, and I mean, I adored Jon Stewart. Jon Stewart was freaking unbelievable.
He's the voice of America.
He was. Oh yeah. And Trevor Noah is doing a really good job.
Is he? Okay.
Yeah, he's really fantastic. He does a really great Trump impression.
Nice.
That is so. It's like there was a bit where he was talking about how Trump said that. How he had that ridiculous press conference where he had all the files, like all the files on the table, saying like, these are all the paperwork that I did. And they did a great thing where they were like, it's funny because they've been working for weeks on these papers and everything. And then they showed like a freeze frame of it and zoomed in. It's like, those are new pages. Like those are fresh papers. And they were also like, and also if you look at the folders, none of them are labeled. Like even put like, even put like conflict of interest on it. That's all you needed to do. But no, these are fresh. It's like, it's ridiculous. But then like he was talking about how Trump said that he's not going to, talk about the business to his sons at all.
Right.
And Trevor Noah said something to the effect of like,
"Oh, Trump. Actually, what if the only reason Trump ran for president was so that he wouldn't have to talk to his sons for 4 years? Maybe that's what he did. That was the entire reason. Sorry, Eric, can't talk. Conflict of interest. But Dad, I just wanted to tell you I love you. Bye now. Bye. Bye. Get him out of here. Bye.
Anytime he goes into an impression like that, it just slays me.
That's hilarious.
But yeah, but the actual Daily Show, it's really good. I kind of, and maybe I'm putting something into it that's not there, but I kind of feel like since Trevor Noah is still young and fresh to it, he's doing a lot more. Like I've been watching it for a few weeks now, and it's not as heavy on, and this may also because it's the new year and maybe the correspondents are taking a break. But what I've seen, like they don't have as many like correspondence segments throughout it. A lot of it is Trevor Noah just doing it the whole thing.
Nice.
And sometimes they have two guests, so they have, instead of a segment after the break for correspondence and everything, they just have the first guest and then the second guest.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm really liking it. I'm really enjoying it, and I'm really terrified.
Nice.
Yeah, it is what it is. But we're not a political podcast.
Yeah.
It's whatever.
I have yet to give Trevor Noah a chance.
I highly recommend it.
Yeah, I literally have not watched a complete episode since Jon Stewart left, and it was just because it's literally impossible for him to fill his shoes, and like I held Jon Stewart in the highest of esteem.
Right.
Like he's like a once once in a lifetime kind of commentator in my book. Once in a lifetime intellect, I think. And so I was just like, I remember when I started, probably 5-6 years ago, I started recording every episode of The Daily Show. Yeah. And I watched all 4 episodes every week. For a long time. And I remember thinking, Jon Stewart's only like 48, 49, 50. He's going to do this till he's 65. He's going to be around forever. And I'm going to be there for so much of it. This is going to be great. And then he retired. And I was just like really bummed out by that. I'm not criticizing him for it. Like I completely understand his reasons for doing so, but I was just like crushed by it. And I just was not like emotionally or mentally prepared to revisit the show. Right. I'm not being critical of anyone at all. Sure. It's just my own personal shortcomings. And so at some point I'm going to need to watch it again. Right. And really, I've seen some segments and stuff and I've liked Trevor Noah. Yeah. But I can't speak to him as a whole, I guess. Yeah.
I can respect that. I was all prepared to just, before you said I've seen segments, because one of the things that I really respect about it is that they are kind of having a good command of social media with Trevor Noah and on the Daily Show. They're really good about posting like clips and everything on Facebook and everything. So I mean, he's really doing really well. And
I'm gonna have to give him a chance.
Yeah, you don't have Hulu, do you?
I don't.
Oh, okay, because they have all the episodes on Hulu after the day after it airs. But you got one of those fancy DVRs, don't you?
Yeah, we got the cables.
Oh, nice.
We got the cable.
And you can also, I mean, since you subscribe to Comedy Central, you can download the Comedy Central app.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, I recommend it.
Nice.
To check that out. So that I think Tiny is that gonna do it for this week's?
I think that'll do her.
Sweet. Okay, awesome. So that does it for this week's episode. Next week is episode 203, or maybe 204 if we have a special bonus episode devoted to the Dark Tower trailer that Please God is gonna come out.
Yeah.
Please.
That's gonna be my Super Bowl this year.
Right.
Is looking for that trailer.
Yeah. Definitely. So next week, I mean, we talked about having, Tony and Tommy on for By the Rights, but I don't know if that'll materialize or if we'll have to push that a week or so. Kind of a thought here that I have in my brain, Tiny. Do you want to maybe do a what do you call it?
Netflix picks?
Netflix picks.
I almost messaged you with that earlier today.
Oh, nice.
We should do that in the future.
Sweet. And do you want to do just where we switch, where we each take each other's phones? Okay,
Absolutely.
Nice.
Ignore all the porn.
Yes. Okay, I have Netflix loaded.
Actually, speaking of that,
Speaking of porn?
Sorta.
Oh, okay, good.
There was a documentary on Netflix called Escorts.
Okay.
That was about escorts. And I watched it.
Nice.
And I just forgot that, Paige and I share a Netflix account. She was like, why did you watch a movie called Escorts? I was like,
that's awesome.
Well, I genuinely wasn't watching it for perverted reasons, but,
sure.
You
guys don't have separate profiles?
We do. She just doesn't use hers.
Oh.
Pisses me off. Because I have fucking Gilmore Girls showing up in my, and like, you should, because you watch Gilmore Girls, you should watch this bullshit or whatever,
To be fair, I have had a, request come in for me to watch Gilmore Girls, so I may actually watch it at some
Really?
point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've talked about it before. It's
right.
I don't hate the show. There's my list there.
Okay, here's mine. Okay, and then I'm gonna. All right, we're gonna pick. We're each gonna pick one from the other's list, and then have that be our Netflix picks. Yeah, I'll go ahead and go with that. This, okay, do you want me to introduce mine and then you do yours?
Yeah.
Okay. So my pick for you to watch for next week's episode is a movie that made my top 10 list in 2015.
Okay.
Believe it was number 6, and that movie is Victoria.
Okay.
Yes.
Nice.
And do me a favor. When you watch it, do not read the plot description.
Okay.
Do you remember anything about this movie?
I don't even remember who's in it.
Okay. Well, yeah, you wouldn't.
Okay.
I mean, it's a Spanish film, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, don't read anything about it.
Okay.
Don't just click it, watch it. It's 2 hours, 18 minutes though.
10-4.
But yeah, watch Victoria and let me know what you think. Oh, I'm so excited. Please don't read anything about it.
Okay.
At all.
10-4.
Oh, it's such a cute background.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
For you, since you want to be more politically informed, and since Peter Capaldi just announced he's leaving Doctor Who, I am selecting for you Armando Iannucci's 2005 political comedy, or 2009 political comedy, In the Loop.
Nice.
I've seen it. It's funny.
Very nice.
Yeah.
I've been very interested in seeing that.
It's a good one.
Sweet.
Cool.
All right. Awesome. We have our assignments, Tiny.
Yes, we do.
Nice. Next week, we are going to be talking about In the Loop and Victoria, which are both available on the Netflixes. Yeah, sweet. Awesome. Cool. All right. Well, that about does it for this week's episode of The Obsessive Viewer. Tune back in next week for our Netflix Picks episode, which will be episode 203. Freaking amazing.
Yeah.
And if you like what you've heard from this podcast, and you want to support us, the easiest way to do that would be to head over to iTunes and leave a rating and review. The more ratings and reviews that we get, the easier it will be for people to find the show in iTunes' search results. And the easier it will be for us to be, prominent in the search results. When people type like movie and TV podcasts, having more ratings and reviews can really bump us up, and that's really appreciated. If you want to be particularly generous and want to show your support with your wallet, you can do that by clicking the donate button, which is located at obsessiveviewer.com for a one-time donation, or by clicking the donate link in the show notes of this episode. You can also go to patreon.com/obsessiveviewer to become a patron for a recurring payment, where you can choose from different reward tiers, one of which is the $5 will get us to say anything you want, no matter what the content. Any and all donations made will help pay the fees to keep the podcast running, so that we can continue to provide you with our podcast each week without going broke. Yeah. So having said all that, guys, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.
I'm on the cusp of a yawn.
Cusp is a fun word.
It is. Cusp of a yawn is like my autobiography title. On the cusp of a yawn.
That's great.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, sorry.
All right, you're fine. Hello, and welcome to The Obsessive Viewer. We're a weekly movie and TV podcast.
Thank you for listening to The Obsessive Viewer, presented by ObsessiveViewer.com. You can find more of our episodes at ovpodcast.com, and you can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Stitcher, or your preferred podcast app. The Obsessive Viewer's theme song is An Eclipse of Events and is provided by Loudlike from their EP Mistakes We Must Make. You can find that and more great music from them on iTunes, and like their Facebook page at facebook.com/loudlikemusic. Any and all feedback on the podcast is encouraged. You can email the hosts individually at Matt, Tiny, or Mike at ObsessiveViewer.com, or send an email to the podcast in general at podcast@ObsessiveViewer.com. Check out the Obsessive Viewer blog at ObsessiveViewer.com, where we post movie and TV reviews and the occasional editorial about the business of entertainment. You can also like us on Facebook at facebook.com/TheObsessiveViewer, and follow us on Twitter at ObsessiveViewer, at ObsessiveTiny, and at IamMikeWhite. If you want more obsessive content in your life, check out our sister site, ObsessiveBookNerd.com, for book reviews, author spotlights, and a general celebration of reading. Finally, if you're philosophically curious, check out Tiny's side project podcast, The Secular Perspective, which explores the concepts of faith, religion, and existence from the perspective of secular hosts. You can find that at thesecularperspective.com and subscribe to the podcast on the podcatcher of your choice. Again, thank you so much for listening. We love you. Be excellent to each other.